Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of my World of Tanks Let's Play. I'm giving you this episode here while hopefully you're all downloading the new 8.6 patch. And of course, if you're maybe a little after it and just looking for something to do in between, hey, welcome to the show. Figured I'd talk about a little underutilized tactic, which I've recently been doing more and more and more, in addition to some clutch moves that really kind of make or break a game. A friend of mine always says that you can really determine how a battle's going to go based upon the initial layout within the first, 30 seconds to a minute of the game, seeing where everyone goes out to and what happens. I really don't believe that. I believe that, yes, initially can tell you what's going to happen, but as long as everyone pulls their weight and does their part, things can sway either way so long as anyone's able to read the map and head and reinforce as needed, or be able to just counter different things. So with that said, it's a lot of this game comes down to being able to know where you're needed at what moment. And initially, yes, within the first couple minutes of the game, it's a little bit open-ended. You can really go wherever you need to, do whatever you need, but you need to rely on the fact that your teammates are going to be able to do their part as well. You can't, necessarily say, hey, our team's not going to do anything, blah, 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 because we moved into these positions and these are not optimal, etc., etc. Yes, it does kind of lean towards, there are certain deployments that work better than others, but hey, again, a lot of it comes down to being able to read the map, going where you're needed to, and of course, just being able to just exploit, certain areas that are opened up at certain times. There's a whole multitude of different things that can work out, not necessarily tethered to just the initial deployment. But, it does have some purpose, but not entirely. It will dictate at least where you're going to have to reinforce later. Because obviously if a larger force is somewhere else, or players are in a position where it is not optimal for their tank, yeah, you can see that. But anyway, so a little mechanic in this game that I don't utilize nearly as much as I've often talked down about the mechanic of all things, and of course that really comes down to a simple fact that it doesn't provide the best aiming point, but that is auto-aim. There is a point to auto-aim, and I know I've said to stay away from it when shooting at targets on the move, but there are certain aspects of it that I use that are fantastic. And that is to initially help me aim in on something. So say it's something that's very far away, I'm in third person. What I'll do is I'll auto-lock onto it, let it shrink in, I'll fire one round that will generally hit, not necessarily causing damage because it's not aiming at a weak spot or anything, just in the general vicinity. But then once I have settled into a position I'm happy with, then I will click off the auto-aim now that I'm centered on the target, and of course I'll zoom in, and from there I'll be able to make sure that I'm able to just get that fine-tuning. So it's great if you're using it temporarily, either while you're on the move because of terrain knocking you around, it'll keep your aim steady on a non-moving target. Never use auto-lock on a moving target. So if it's a target that's kind of just sitting there and you're on the move, yes, it's useful because it's not going to be affected by terrain bounce or anything like that, whereas if you're trying to aim by hand, sometimes, you'll hit terrain and where you're aiming, keeping it steady on one location, might actually maneuver and bounce it off where you're aiming. So I do have to switch to gold here because it is an IS-8, and I do want to guarantee that I'm going to go through it. This Panther 2 has a great gun on it, so I'm going to be able to make sure I can finish him off. Now, I kind of sat there. Luckily, artillery never focused on me. I wasn't spotted that whole time, even though I was putting round after round after round into those guys. Now, taking a look at the map, now that I've cleared out that center force, see there's an object down here, a T-20 down here, and then a good chunk of people up in the north. But we still seem to be about even with our teams, so it's not like I'm too worried about reinforcing anywhere or dealing with anything yet. So coming back to that I mentioned earlier, not like I need to make any big moves yet. We seem a little good. Our artillery just rails into that T-20 and absolutely demolishes him. So perfect shot by the artillery. And this is when I figure, you know what, I'm going to help go down there and clear out some of the stuff that's coming across that bridge in center point, because it looks as though they're hurting a bit. I think we only have one heavy left. They have what looks to be 2 heavies and a medium, maybe a little bit more. Can't really tell exactly, but also not too fond of that 704. That thing will hurt just a little bit. So, as I was saying with the auto aim helps you get on target. Never use it for any more than just getting on target. It's great for being able to center up a shot if you're, far away and you're still in third person and you're trying to get to your location, or you're actually running around and you're close enough that any slight movement in your mouse while you're trying to drive around might be interrupting your shot. So something like that is a good use for the auto aim. And I mean, I've actually gotten more and more into that habit of using it specifically for aiming in better, more for having to be in the third person and running around, more for if I'm, at a very, very long range where I do have an unsteady hand. That's a problem I actually have with painting when it comes to Flames of War and bolt action stuff, is don't necessarily have the steadiest of hands, so I'll end up having to take a minute, let it sit. But in a Twitch game like this, steady hands make all the difference in the world. And yes, while I do have a nice little button on my mouse that halves my DPI setting, and I can use it for when I'm sniping or anything else, so it really smooths everything out. It knocks it down to about, what would I say, probably about, I'm up at around 11 or 1200 DPI, so it knocks it down to about 600, maybe 400, depending on what I'm actually sitting at. Don't think I'm nearly that high, I think I'm closer to 8. But anyway, so it knocks it down that far, but I continually forget to use that button, and that probably would make a lot of difference if I did, because that would help alleviate a lot of issues. But it's also fine twitching. I do not mind when I'm sitting there and I shoot the barrel of a tank that's dead. But I mean, when I'm running at something, when I'm trying to zoom in from a far, far distance and I'm not too concerned about me actually hitting, or if I can guarantee that I'm going to go through whatever tank it is no matter what area I hit, that's when I use auto aim, because that will help center the target. It'll keep the shot steady no matter what range you're at, and of course it'll keep the shot steady if you're up close and running around, which is very useful too, because if you're trying to run around in a map that has train tracks and some dude stopped looking one way and you're coming around behind him and you're bouncing up and down off all those train tracks, that's when it really will matter that you need that nice little smoothing action of having it auto-locked, because then it's just going to keep right on target that whole time, more or less. Of course your reticle is going to be decent-sized bloom, but at least get you on track. Of course, as I was saying, never keep that on for when you're actually tight aiming and when you're doing any sort of, when you're ready to actually engage. Only use it as like a lead-in, and that's pretty much the best advice I can offer for when it comes to utilizing the auto-aim mechanic, is just use it as a lead-in. See if I can't sling one right. Oh, I'm using gold rounds, so it should be alright. So, figured I'd switch again to premium rounds there because I want to guarantee that kill. It's getting to that point where we need to make sure we can get these kills in. We can't wait around too much longer. And of course, my sneaking around the backside of these buildings did not work at all. Don't have the space. This tank's way too wide. But, anywho, so I hope that helped explain how I utilize and how auto-aim really works to a good advantage. It's something to be utilized, but something definitely not to, how should you say, something that shouldn't be overused. It's not like overusing it's a bad thing, it's just it's going to be misleading. It does not track targets, so it's not going to, if they're moving fast, it's not going to lead them at all. It'll actually trail behind them, and you'll never hit if you're auto-aiming that way. If you're both moving, it'll also trail behind them unless you're using a rapid-fire tank and you're both slow-moving enough that bloom is going to spread enough to encapsulate the target while you're still moving. So the rarity of you both moving and circling each other using auto-aim, that's not going to work out too well. That's when you're going to have to somewhat focus on driving, but also just start clicking and aiming behind you. In terms of anything else, I mean, I would only use it to center in on targets at long range because it really helps with that. But then once you're centered on, break it off and then do your little maneuvering as needed to take care of things with your mouse. You don't want to you don't want it to leave to auto-aim, because, again, it does not aim at weak points at all. So you very well could be aiming at a very strong point in the armor, instead of, like a shoulder plate that's weaker, or anything like that. You'll be aiming dead at a target. So, even if they're stationary, you're going to be aiming at probably one of the most armored plates on the tank, because generally a tank has the most armor sitting right at the nose of a tank. So, you'll want to obviously break that and aim either, like for an American tank. Like this, I auto-aimed it on him. As you can see, my mouse was a little bit further away. He was stationary, I was just aiming at his side plate there. I wanted the quick snapshot. That made all the difference. Now, what really happened there was not me shooting. The clutch thing again was that Lorraine, at the moment we need him, crushed that 704, because that 704 was probably going to kill me if I had to engage him. So I'm going to get on Cap here and force him out, so that our artillery can have a shot at him, or he'll have to come out to me so that I can get a shot at him. And we'll see what happens here. But luckily, as I was saying there with the demonstration of auto-aim, I was able to lock onto the target. I could keep moving. I steadied up my shot. I didn't want to break it because I knew I had a decent shot at where I was going. But if you're going nose to nose, you really, really do not want to keep that auto-aim, because like I was saying, with American tanks, there's a very good chance you're going to hit that turret instead of the juicy hull. With any other tank, like a German tank, there's a good chance you're going to hit at a bad grade or slope on that front armor where it's not going to help. So there runs their artillery. See if I can sneak in a shot, but doesn't look like it. He's hiding in a nice safe spot. And then screaming out of nowhere, nice S51 round right on top of him. So clutch game by everybody. Everyone did a great job in that one. Let's go take a look at the stats for that one, and then we'll move on to a incredible game after that. As we take a look here at the personal score, with a bunch of birds chatting outside my window, so hopefully you guys can't hear all of that. They're squawking something loud. Anywho, where was I? Yes, so, not a bad little score. 30,000 credits is not something to shy away from for a tier 8 medium. 2,500 experience is very nice. Very nice indeed. Killing off 5 tanks there. Hitting one that I didn't kill, that T-34, and spotting damage on the T-20, which was that nice cruiser shell from the Lorraine, just absolutely crushing him. So, where were we? Yeah, so, looks like I didn't do too bad. Nothing really spectacular that jumps out at me. Decent kill game. I mean, the tier 8 mediums, I've always been a little fond of them. And I mean, I've been fond of mediums simply because of their whole aggressiveness. It's just something that really suits me. And just, I don't know, just something about them. I really like how the aggressiveness plays out and how they end up performing. It's just one of those battle types where the mediums seem to speak to me just as well as heavies, more than TDs and than SPGs. Mostly because mediums allow me that quick response. I can go where needed, when needed. A heavy, you're kind of sold on a point where you're going to go, so you don't really have much option out of that one. And then there's also the TD kind of really sticks you as a sniper mode. Yeah, while I kind of sat there a little bit with this Panther 2 initially, I was able to do that, but I was also able to retreat and go elsewhere as needed. But then I was able to maneuver around, so on and so forth. It just works a little better in my mind. It's like a jack of all trades. I like the ability to flex where needed, when needed, as opposed to be almost slotted a role that I need to be. It just also, it plays more aggressive, and aggressive is my play style. So anyway, personal score, it kind of speaks for itself, nothing that jumps out at me. So we'll go ahead and look at the team score there. We can see that a lot of people doing exactly what we needed to do. Everyone pulling their part, of course. No one sloughing off at all, which is absolutely perfect. Gotta love it when everybody, helps out and is the best they can. Especially with that Lorraine screaming that shell in and killing both that T-20 and that what was it, OBJ 704. That really made a huge difference killing that 704, because if I had to tackle that thing head on, it would not have ended well. I would have had to get lucky to either track him and get around behind him or anything like that. So thank God for SPGs. The rarity you're going to hear that, but thank God for them. They save the day all the time. It's just one of those things where if you didn't have them, the battle would have been completely differently. And then, of course, our blocking force up north did exactly what they needed to as long as they could. they held out, they held the bastion until we were able to clear out some of the bottom and then head back. So that worked out actually perfectly. So looking at the detailed report, then we see that I did 22 shots, 18 of them hitting, 12 of them penetrating by the looks of that. Looks like that is true. Okay, so 2284 for my damage, nothing too shy. Of course, that's better than my hit points, which is all I go for. As long as I can commit more damage than I have hit points, I'm happy with that. And then other than that, not too much, just spotting damage a little bit. No, it wasn't the Lorraine shell that I spotted. It was some other initial damage against them, I take it. Oh well. So, looks like I sustained a few hits, only, I don't know, I can't see my hits received. 0. Well, that makes it easy. Didn't sustain any hits, traveled about 4 kilometers, and then after I replenished all that ammunition, especially those premium rounds, which, you know, in tier 8s and, well, anything like above a tier 6, I always carry about 5 rounds of premium ammunition just because you always never know when you're going to end up in the situations like I did where I got to take out an IS-8 and I got to guarantee that I'm going to kill a Super Pershing instead of duel it out with him and having to try. As you guys saw where I was aiming, I probably could have went right through his lower plate or underneath that spaced armor, but I wanted to guarantee those kills. I didn't want to have to sit there and duel it out and let things get repositioned. I wanted to move. So it worked out having those 5 rounds. So after replenishing, ended up with about 10,000 credits. So nothing too much, but hey, you gotta replenish that heavy ammunition. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at a really interesting battle that we just had last night, and is why I actually held off recording this video until now. So this is actually a Clan Wars battle that we had last night. We were attempting to land in some different areas. We initially held some territory earlier in the event, but we actually entered into a deal with another clan, but it didn't pan out at all, so we ended up giving up our territory for nothing, and sadly it just created a little bit of confusion, and it didn't work out at all. It happens. Oh well. But anyway, so now we were trying to land in a place up in Greenland, just to get some stuff done up there. It was just a short battle. We wanted to do one early, and we also tried to do one late. So we have our positions that we want to go to, and we're just gonna do some different things. Oh, my AC just kicked on, so hopefully I can talk over that. But anyway, on with the Clan Wars, as opposed to me talking about, you know, random stuff in and around what our plans and strategy is. So, lucky little snapshot there, and as with Clan Wars, you should obviously be loading gold. Hopefully the majority of my forces are. We kind of spread ourselves out a bit across the line here, because we really haven't developed a sound strategy for this map, but we want to kind of figure some stuff out, you know, work out, you know, what works best, have a mobile tactic here, whereas we just have one tank in every avenue and a flex force going in between, and then we shuffle around as needed, where needed, and make that work. So that's kind of our game plan, is just to be a little bit reactive, not necessarily aggressive at the moment, not this early in the stage. It is only a quarterfinal, so not like it's do or die. The game won't be over, you know, either which way. We have another territory after this one we were going for, so it's not like if we didn't win this one, it's going to matter, and if we did win this one, well, then we can continue. Not a big deal. I'm happy with that too. I'd much prefer to continue going on, actually. So trying to I don't know where I'm going with this. Anyway, so we were lining up some stuff. Everybody's watching an avenue, just trying to see what everything's going on here. Everybody's on TeamSpeak, cooperating and spotting for each other. We're actually playing down a player. As you might notice, we actually only have 14 people out because it just worked out that we were short one person. We didn't have enough people online at the moment, and that's one of the problems that we keep running into with Clan Wars, is we keep finding ourselves just short of having enough by, you know, 1 or 2 people, and then the later battles we find ourselves with an overage of about 2 or 3 people, and I find myself having to decide who needs to go and who doesn't, and that's a little sad when I gotta cut people out. It's not necessarily fair to anybody, and I'm not big into the whole excluding people. It's not really fun or fair to them, and damn, that bird's loud. Anyway, so I don't know, I don't like necessarily excluding people, but I guess it's part of the game when you can only have 15 people. You just gotta pick who is around at the right time and go with whatever tanks that people can offer you that you need. So that's kind of how I ended up basing my decision, was just who's around for the strategy and what tanks do they have that we absolutely need. And for tier 7s, I figured the IS series and the T29 were probably the best options, and then the other ones were just slotted as needed as we have them. So IS, because of their hard hits in the city, it works out very well. The T29s are great accuracy and vision range, but in the city it's going to really come down to more of a throwing out heavy hits, especially when we're running gold ammunition. We don't have to worry too much about bounces. Sadly, we got one guy who just got aced by artillery. Not too bad, though. We can just reposition as needed. I actually start calling people to have them start shuffling over slowly, one tank at a time. So I think I end up calling the T-29 next to me to head over around behind me to where the IS is, and then I'll have the IS shuffle. That's one of the nice things about this strategy that we put together, was that we can actually have people move from one position to another and help relieve some areas as needed. And it works out pretty well, being able to shuffle people around one tank at a time. Just it never leaves too many open gaps, and that was kind of the goal of this, was to not leave too many open gaps at any given point in time. And just, the players, of course, will naturally be able to see and determine stuff on their own accord. But being the caller for my team, it is very difficult to concentrate both on playing and on what's going on around me. So it's one of those things where it's kind of hectic at some points in time. It's kind of a difficult process to be like, hey, you go here, you go there, I'm going here, while shooting and maneuvering all at the same time. And it's hard to branch myself and stretch myself out that much. They almost need a commander mode just for a one caller to sit in and be able to direct everybody, and almost to give you like a tactical whiteboard. That'd be nice if you could just continually draw on the map while in game in clan wars. I mean, obviously they'll get abused and you'll get people drawing stupid stuff all over it, but if you could actually somehow filter out that and actually get real legitimate stuff, that'd be fantastic to be able to, lay out little battle plans, almost like Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 2 back in the day, where you had a commander who could actually access the map and tell people, you go here, you go there, incoming stuff here, give individual orders to individual units. That'd be awesome. So, end up letting Jake Logan loose and his T-71 to go ahead and scout as needed, as safely as he can, going up that field. It looks like the field is abandoned, but we are worried that they do have stuff sitting there on the ledge overlooking it. And of course, with Jake Logan getting aced like that, we did determine that, hey, something was on the ledge. His Force Recon actually determined that one for us. So we're actually starting to shift some stuff around. We're kind of not too worried about that field as for the moment. It's more or less just we want our force to act as blocking temporarily, and we want stuff to start shifting over as needed to assist with that 0 column, that 8-9 area, just because there's a few little deficiencies over there in terms of our tank power, whereas we had a little more force over on the field side. Now we definitely want it on the city side. So I'm pulling stuff away. And as you see, we do have a Dicker Max. So we do have a tier 6 in this tier 7 battle. And we actually ended up going with GW Panthers, because in this battle we figured we really don't want the heavy hitting artillery. We don't want the GW Tiger, because we want rapid fire. And while GW Tiger is far from rapid fire, its reload speed is a heck of a lot quicker than a GW Tiger. So just the simple fact that we wanted rate of fire over anything else is why we ended up going with that. And we also only have 2 because that 15th player would have been a slot for artillery. So we went with exactly what we have here, because we needed more tanks than we needed our SPGs, especially being a city fight. We didn't want to overload on SPGs and need more tanks when we had that one spot missing. So we ended up going with tanks instead, because just we needed them. And so we have Gamer Zero over there on the outer edge of the town, just trying to scout stuff out. We see stuff starting to move on that end. I tell my T-29s to engage as they can, the best they can, but they need to be very careful, because that spot can get railed by artillery if they're not careful. And there's still that IS-2 sitting here somewhere in the center, not really familiar. And now we see another IS-2 creeping along the side there. So that starts to give us a little bit of concern. Luckily, we do hit him with one of our T-29s to smoke him. But now we're starting to see more and more forces start heading over that way. So I immediately call that all our forces start heading over to that side, because we can see where their push is coming. We see it early. They kind of tipped their hand, which is a very good thing for us that we're able to spot it. Sadly, our T-29s are getting railed by artillery, though, so they need to be careful, especially since artillery can hit both of them. But what's happening is we're spotting them. We have our T-29s poking out and shooting them. And of course, we're just lined up all here. We see that they're aiming for the 0 column. They're almost all entirely spotted right there. And we do have a gun line right here, which is nice. They can try and come around this 8-9 column, or they can go straight down the 0 column. Either which way, we do have the guns in place to deal with it. They've already committed. I've already unleashed Gamer to go ahead and start working his way around up in the north. And of course, having our medium do his thing as well, along with the Dickermax. Just trying to get a little bit of edge over there. And Gilly's going to be a flex force in that IS-2 to come and help out where he needs to. So we've really got them contained there. They're really not in the way of too much they can do, because we already know exactly where they're at. If they start to retreat, we'll peck them out just as easy as they came in there and we started getting them pecked. So now they're going to kind of commit themselves, and now they're going to spring their attack. But luckily, again, with our gun line here, and we do have our JP almost exclusively on track duty, which is awesome for him that he's sitting there tracking them for us. We're just laying into the tanks left and right. I shoot over, missing that shot due to a bad idea, and of course I got shot in the back because I wasn't paying attention. So they all piecemeal out one at a time here. It seems that they were not really ready for what's coming out at them. I guess they had to come out there. They kind of overcommitted and of course showed their hand, as I was stating. So we were able to get them there as they just came around that corner. They all piecemealed out there and got killed. So now we're going to swing around them. I'm going to at least commit around them. And then I have my T-29s going to back me up to try and take out this T-71. But I'm going to focus more on taking out the IS and the IS-2 because we want to be able to burn down some of these tanks. So we have to dodge artillery and go after these two. Once we pincer them off, we will have taken out almost all of their heavy forces, and then we'll be completely fine and not have much to worry about. So throwing some heavy hits against these two tanks. They're down to 500 hit points apiece. So between me and the other IS, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. Of course, I'm getting hit from behind with the 71 and the IS in front of me. I get finished off because of artillery landing right on top of me, I believe. I could be wrong about that one, but I don't think it was anything besides artillery. Who knows? But not too much left. That little IS with 17 hit points, and then our other IS with plenty of hit points. He should be able to finish them all off. We have our IS-2 and our IS in their base, folding on top of them. They just have 3 artillery pieces, an AT-7, an IS, which has now been killed. And of course, their artillery being spot on kills another one of our heavy tanks, which actually had plenty of hit points. So their TDs are fantastic, and the problem is that their SPGs are dead on with every shot. The problem being, oh nice, so I didn't even realize that our SPGs were also dead on crushing things. The problem being that such heavy powered SPGs make it very difficult, because as you see there, another one of our heavies gets crushed by a SPG, just in the simple fact that it was a lot of firepower coming in from these very heavy SPGs. Tier 7, 6, and 7 SPGs hurt a lot, especially since they're the mismatch tier right now. Then after the patch, because they're doing a 2-day freeze, it'll be a different story when they actually have a lower, or not lower, but different sort of matchmaking for them, so it won't be nearly as devastating. They won't be able to one-shot everything in their tier. So a little bit better for the campaign. The campaign really should have been differently. So there we go, another massive hit from the TD, or from the SPGs, crushing our last surviving heavy tank there, and we're left with the Dickermax and 2 pieces of artillery to fight off a T-71 and an M40-43. Now this is actually where it's going to work in our favor that we have 14 tanks instead of 15, because they're unsure of where our 15th tank is. They might see that we have 2 artillery pieces that hit them, and they might see that we have a TD that they've already spotted and been killed by, but they don't know where that 15 man is, because that 15th man doesn't exist. They don't know if he's running around in town. They don't know if he's creeping up on the 0 column. They don't know where he's at. And I think that's what's keeping this T-71 here, and it's really going to work out for us. So Bluefish here in the Digger Max with a fantastic shot to finish off their 21. They're left with 3 artillery pieces, so it's one slow little TD against 3 artillery pieces with his backup of 2 artillery pieces. We actually made the comment of, oh, so this is going to be a little rough here because we have a slow TD against 3 one-shot SPG machines, and so we just have to play it as we can. So, one coming right up at him, he bounces right off the front of it. Luckily, he misses him, because if he didn't miss him, we would have been in so much trouble. Because if he hit, we would have had no ability to get anywhere, wouldn't have had any more spots, just would have ended badly right there. So again, luckily, they've overshot the Dicker Max. He's able to get in. He's just actually going to go on the move here, just take everything out as he can. He's going to drive around. We tell him to just go ahead and go into the base, spot everything you can. He's weaving back and forth. We're actually yelling at him, don't wave, head left, and as he's going right, we're like, go left. So we end up spotting their GW Tiger, the nasty thing that is with its crazy amount of damage. He gets a fantastic snapshot. I'm surprised it hit like that. Of course, our artillery ranged in already, going ready to hit him. So we finished off their GW Tiger, and that leaves us with 45 seconds to find their last little TD as he's running away. We have no idea where he's at. So we have 2 of our SPGs running out to try and go up the 0 column. We have our Dicker Max coming up behind him. 30 seconds left. So we're all tense right now. And we're all commenting that it's going to be a draw, that we're sad about it, because a draw in Clan Wars in the early stages is a loss for both players. A draw later stages is a win for the defender. Oh, and sadly the dick isn't strong enough, is what Fish says. So, our GW Panther coming up for the kill shot. He misses, and the 40-43 kills him. So now it comes down to just what we have left. We have our GW Tiger lining up a shot. His shot hits, but not enough to kill. So we have our Dicker Max. Last second, 0 seconds on the clock, and he kills it. You should have heard the TeamSpeak erupt. It was insane. We thought that we lost, but somehow, someway, the weak Dicker Max rolls a high roll there, because typically it only does, well, it does 300 damage, but he needed to get about 250 plus to kill him, so luckily he gets it, kills it with 0 seconds on the clock. That is a buzzer beater. I have never seen that type of buzzer beater in my life. The TeamSpeak server absolutely erupted. So, with the buzzer beater by Fish there, fantastic end to this battle. Sadly, though, it did not last for long. We ended up going into the finals for this landing and ended up actually losing because of critical mistakes. We oversold our counterattack, which we ended up crushing a lot of their stuff, but sadly in that time we also weakened all our tanks. They got killed. Then we went on to go into a landing somewhere else and actually had the exact same circumstance that happened in this video happen there, where there was 1 TD left. We didn't have time to cap. We were hunting it down, and sadly, unlike this one, we could not find it. If we had found it, it would have been a different story, but didn't happen. So we ended up drawing and losing that one because we couldn't find their last SPG was hiding and we couldn't find it. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I have a bunch of new stuff coming out here shortly. Hope you guys are gonna get it ready and enjoy patch 8.6. Hopefully I'll post this one up while I download it after work, because I actually have to go to work here in a couple minutes. And so I will catch you guys in game and in the next video. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you later.